I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. We have with us today Misa Kyoufu and Aleph. We'll be hearing from Misa through Aleph. So I'd like to say hello to the both of you.
Hello. Good morning, good evening. Hope everyone is doing well.
I think we're doing okay. We're doing a lot better now that you're here. Thanks for coming on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, we're Misa Aleph. We tend to explore the darkest corner of the world. We mostly stream horror games and games with dark atmosphere, and yeah, we're mostly here to have a chill, good time with everyone.
It says that you're survivors.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so we always appreciate those folks who've gone through it and come back. So we do appreciate it. And I, for one, being a radio veteran, appreciate Aleph being here because we need more radio stuff going on.
Yeah.
I definitely.
I'm glad the concept itself was a good idea, at least.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's an excellent idea. What got you started in VTubing?
Well, honestly, it's difficult to really give a good answer to that because I think it was just me wanting to try something new, and so I started. And so I had a concept idea in mind that was just too good for me to pass on, and so I had the model ID. I got the model, and I did start streaming during that time. It did help me a lot because during that time I was not really going through a fun time of my life. I was going through a very bad burnout, so just doing something, keeping my head out of things was very helpful.
So it's kind of a therapy in that way, to start with anyway.
Yeah. It didn't really start as such, but it ended up being that, yes.
Cool. Were you already into VTubers before you got started? Did you watch a lot of them?
We weren't watching a lot of them, no. Usually it's true that watching streams was a bit difficult because I was just way too busy before I started VTubing.
Yeah.
Just constantly working on stuff because university was just swamping me with work.
Oh, yeah. Well, that'll do it.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something that'll do it in a hurry, it'll be university. But when you did get started and you did start off with this concept, how was it received right away by the chat?
Well, it's a bit difficult to re-explain because my viewers were my friends for a while before I started seeing more people than just the people I already knew, and they did like the concept because first off the design is pretty nice, and because the concept was interesting and something you don't really see that often.
Oh no! Yeah.
There is that VTuber that's I think a squid on someone's head that I don't remember the name of, with a concept that's close to just a character plus another person talking through another entity. And I remember also seeing like another VTuber that was a mule girl holding a cat, and the cat was the one talking. So yeah, that kind of concept is very uncommon, and I'm glad I was able to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a wonderful concept. It's a wonderful concept. Now, once you gotten on and gotten going, what type of things do you like to stream?
As I mentioned earlier, I do enjoy horror games quite a lot on that front because I just vibe with the atmosphere, and they're always just fun to explore. I do also enjoy. Sorry.
Go ahead.
All right. I do also enjoy some games that are a bit quieter as well, even if they are not necessarily the best to stream because I can yap a lot, but sometimes I can. There's only so much I can say at times. Otherwise, when I stream with friends, my rules about playing games that are darker in atmosphere or horror games goes a bit out the window because when I play with friends, I just like having fun. So stuff like Pokemon, Dokapon Kingdom, and the likes are on the table when that happens.
is tough sometimes to
It's
keep that horror atmosphere going when you when you're on
yeah,
with
and
friends.
admittedly, a lot of people are not don't have the nerves of steel we have with our games, so it's understandable. We completely understand that some of our friends don't really want to do like Phasmophobia or Lethal Company or games like that.
Yeah, and if they
But no
do,
pressure on that front.
and especially with if you get in like Lethal Company, it's pretty hard to stay serious during that anyway.
Yeah. We do need to stream Lethal Company and Phasmophobia a little more because they are not very serious and they are a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It's just that
absolutely.
people can be a bit
Mm,
well,
bit,
what's the word again?
yeah, bit too goofy.
No, it's just that some people just are too turned off by the fact that a game can be horror, even
Oh,
if
okay.
the horror aspect is not that present.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty tough. Is it tough for you when you're doing these horror games to concentrate on playing and try to keep chat involved at the same time?
It can be when I try to focus, but usually keeping my calm is not that difficult most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can try and do that. Okay, admittedly, the one game that was really difficult for me to really try and keep interacting with chat was Metal Hellsinger, which is not an horror game, but let's just say that a shooter plus a rhythm game at the same time
Right.
can be a bit difficult to stop focusing on and just chat.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I mean, you don't want to take your mind or your eyesight off of what you're doing for any period of time to read what's happening
It
in chat and keep up. That is pretty tough to do.
Yeah,
Uh,
Hellsinger is a very focus intensive game. I'd
yeah.
still recommend it because it is a very nice, fun time with a very good soundtrack.
So are there is there a game right now that you're looking to stream you haven't done yet?
I do have a bit of a backlog, notably one of the games I've gotten recently that I want to do will be Crow Nation,
Mm-hmm.
and one I purchased today, Made of Scare, that seems very interesting.
These are
Was-
this seem that don't think I've heard of that first one you mentioned. What's that one all about?
Crow Nation, I'm unsure, admittedly. Usually, when I pick up a new horror game, I try to go in completely blind as much as I can,
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, I can
which
definitely see
did
that.
res- sorry.
No, I can definitely see that. Try to keep the surprise with the suspense.
Yeah, and it can also lead to some very fun experience. Like, I didn't stream that one, but Clock Tower 3 was one I was looking forward to playing, that I did play on my own. And I will admit, I was not expecting any of that. And it resulted in it becoming probably one of my favorite PS2 titles of all time.
Now, when you are playing one of these horror games, um, do they have good replayability? Can you go back and do it again, or once you're through with it, are you through with it?
Some of them are more replayable than others, I'll admit. For
Mm,
example, the Resident Evil games are more replayable, for sure.
right, right.
But then there are games like, let me take a look at what I've got that wouldn't be easy to play through again.
Some of them that might have just one timeline that you have to keep going by, and don't have any real side quests. I imagine it'd be a little tough to do.
Yeah.
Mm.
Some of those are also just good, are also mostly replayable if you try to go faster through them, which is what I can do. I can do that kind of stuff for some games, but not always. Oh
Mm.
yeah, a game that I think is not very replayable would be Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
Mm.
It is
Yeah,
very good, but replayable, it's debatable.
yeah, yeah. It's just there's just some
Same
games
for
that just some games that are played that are built that way, that are good as one-time experiences, and maybe if you put it on the shelf for a while and come back later and do it again.
yes, there are some of those indeed.
Yeah.
One of my favorite on that front that I've replayed through several times will be Fragile Dreams for the Wii. It is honestly my favorite Wii game of all time, and I'm a bit sad. It's such a niche title. It's just a very good time, even
Mm.
if it's not that scary.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and a horror game on the Wii. sounds like a tough one to play. To use the motion control that much?
For that one, no, I was able to play through it entirely without using even playing on a whether it is on a console or an emulator.
Wow.
You don't really need to do that many motions.
No, that's good. Yeah, because sometimes they try to do some things with it, and I have
Yeah.
a Wii myself, and I use for all sorts of different types of things. But just every once in a while, there's just too much to try to do with it.
Well, for this one, thankfully, it's not that much. It's mostly just to move the flashlight around to look around.
Mm. I'd be whipping it all over the place. I want to see everything that's going on.
Honestly, it's not that intense of a game, thankfully.
the getting started with it in when you got started with VTubing, you see, it eventually kind of become a therapy for you. How long did it take for you to realize that it was becoming a big part of your life?
Honestly, I wouldn't really be able to. I don't think I could really give a good answer to that. I think it's when I got the model, actually, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a big purchase, so yeah, it did end up becoming a big part of my life just for that reason alone.
Mm-hmm. And has it kind of helped you out away from the computer?
Sorry?
Has it helped you away from the computer anyway in coping with things?
Yes, it did, honestly, because just having something to get my minds off things helped a lot.
Yeah.
It was really not a very fun time, and I think it might still be affecting me somewhat today, but not anywhere near as much as back then.
But if you didn't have it, you'd know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't have the comfort of getting back into to being online and entertaining folks, you'd probably feel that pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you always been someone who wanted to be an entertainer type of person?
Yes. Although I did try and get started on several things. Notably, I've been before VTubing, I was a writer, and I did try and start getting started on learning how to. I was about to say how to read. No, I know how to do that. Thank you very much. How to draw, which I did start a little bit, but keeping myself to it has been difficult, to say the least.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, we got other things to do when you're online, but anybody who can do that and actually get better at it, I'm jealous of, because the more I would do it, the worse I would get, which is pretty tough to do.
Honestly, it's not. It's more a question of forging habits, and unfortunately, for drawing, it's something I've really struggled to forge an habit for. So I've been very on and off. I did at least I can say confidently that I did get better between when I started and now. But yes, still not very good. Better, but still bad.
If you want to have a bad art competition, I can assure you that I would take first place, and they would just shut everything down. It would not be a contest. But writing.
Come on, have a little more faith in yourself. I'm sure you do well.
Yeah, well, they've passed laws that I can't do it anymore. So the writing aspect. What types of writing did you do, or are you still doing it?
I still do a lot of writing nowadays, even if it's more personal stuff. But usually it depends on moods. I did try and write a novel, a fantasy novel, a couple years ago, but I ended up dropping it because I was just swamped with work. So I just couldn't do that.
You still got it in the back of your head, though?
Yeah, it's still somewhere. I just haven't had the drive to pick it back up because I do other things now.
I would
nowadays, when it comes to writing, I still do some personal writings like those. Some that I sometimes put online, and the script writing for videos as well.
Yeah. how writing for yourself is one thing, but writing for yourself then showing other people is something different.
Yeah.
How do you get over that hump to do that? It takes some courage to do that.
Well, it's something I've been doing for I started writing fan fictions when I was like 12, so
Hmm.
I've had the time to come to terms with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
At the time, at the time I was like 12, so you can probably imagine the quality of my writing at the time.
oh, it's probably
But honestly,
perfect.
sorry?
It's
Mm,
perfect.
yeah. Honestly, honestly, if I look back at some of the stuff I wrote back in the days, I do cringe a little bit, but I'm not gonna try and deny that's something I did. It's part of who I am.
Hmm.
It's part of me growing up, so I'm not going to deny what it is.
Oh, that's a
If I
good way to.
Everyone has to start somewhere, and if you can look back and think that what you did back then was cringe, it's a good sign, in my opinion. It just means you've managed to grow up, get
Now,
better.
now, are you gonna? Is there a possibility of you picking up the pen or the tablet or whatever you're using and starting back up on that novel?
Maybe. Honestly, it was a pretty big part of it was a pretty big part of my life as well. So it's not out of the question.
Mm-hmm. Do you still every once in a while get an idea and like, oh, I could put that in there. I could. This would have been really good to put in. Maybe if I get back to it, I can put this particular idea in there.
I have actually done that, but not for that novel, but more for the setting for a TTRPG I'm setting up with some friends off
Mm,
stream.
cool.
And I will admit it was a lot of fun to go back through 4 or 5 years of notes, disjointed notes, and try to make something with what I had.
Oh, that's neat. So you kind of if you have an idea, you write it down.
Yes, I have a lot of notes everywhere. I've also been keeping a dream journal for the past 4 years,
Mm. Uh,
and just picking stuff from that thing or looking through my notes everywhere I've got them is a fun time. I'll be completely honest.
yeah, I bet. If I did a dream journal of my own, it mostly would just be going ah.
It is very difficult to. It is also very difficult to keep.
I,
Writing a dream journal is only difficult in the sense that you need to start writing the moment you're up.
mhm.
So even if it's like 4 a.m. or something, if you want to remember the dream and be able to write it down, you have to do it right away.
Oh yeah, because it's very fresh sometimes, and then later on in the day you're like, I remembered a little bit of that earlier, but I don't know all the details of what happened.
Yeah, unfortunately, dreams are those things that are those memories that are really fleeting.
Yeah, yeah, and they can be so complex, and either folks get into reasoning behind it and such. But I can tell you this: if I try to look too hard into the reasoning of some of those dreams, I would I'd be on some real serious medication after a while.
It's a subconscious. It's not something you'd really be put on a medication for, in my opinion.
And my mind's a pretty terrible thing.
Don't worry, I'm not any better.
When,
I mean, I'm a VTuber, so
that's true. You got me beat there. With the channel and how things are going for you. Have you got any projects coming up, special events?
not really because recently I've mostly been expecting the presentation I'm gonna have to do for a paper I had to write to get my master's degree. So in terms of it does make it a bit difficult to try and think of events to start. I am, however, gonna participate in a Gamers Outreach Booktober event. I don't remember the exact name, but basically charity for October.
Oh, excellent! That's great. Thank you for that. That's a great way to use your platform to help folks out along those lines.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy I'm able to help their project. For a bit of context, by the way, Gamers Outreach brings video games to kids who are stuck in the hospital.
Absolutely.
To fight it. Sorry?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't really remember the exact speech because I've made it during the event a month and a half ago, so that's some time ago. Wait, I think it was even more than that. 2 months or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. Basically, yeah, a charity to bring some fun to kids in the hospital.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for doing that. It's great to be able to
Doing
help
my
people in
part.
that way. That's good. The uh, with this and with your ability to kind of help people with it, um, how do you see your community, your chat community? How do you want to expand that, and what type of chat would you like to have?
Honestly, how to expand? It's still something I struggle with because I'm struggling to expand. I don't really know how to grow. We'd say. But in terms of chat, I do like my community the way it is currently.
Mm-hmm.
They are pretty. It's a pretty. What's the word again? It's a pretty tightly knit
Mm-hmm.
community. I can speak. I swear, I can speak words.
I understand
It's
completely.
a tightly knit community, and yeah, they're nice to each other, and that's something I can always appreciate.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just positive people and just here to have a good time,
Yeah, yeah,
chat and just laugh.
yeah. And you realize that, and I hope that most VTubers do that. You get to be their escape, even if you're escaping yourself. Um,
Yes, and
and
honestly, I'm also always grateful for people tuning in. It's always just a pleasure to see everyone, to chat with them, spend time with them,
mm,
and see that I'm good enough for them to come back.
and well, that is something too. They are coming back for you, not necessarily the games you're playing. So that's got to be a little jolt to the ego.
Yes,
Oh,
and I'm always thankful to see them as well.
yeah, excellent. Now, yeah, may I ask, what are you getting the masters in?
Information science.
Ah, okay. That's something that we're going to be needing plenty of. the, that type of thing is getting more and more used for both good and other reasons.
Yes, yes.
Please stay on the side of good.
Yeah. Honestly, my memoir for to get my master's degree or thesis, I guess, is the correct word for that. My thesis does go into depth. I do tear into AI a little bit.
Oh no.
By that I mean a lot.
Yeah, nah. Nah. No, we need
I will
folks
admit
on
on that front. Sorry.
we need folks on the good side.
Yeah, I will admit that I do have a bit of a grudge against AI because of my classmates.
Hmm.
And something that I ended up realizing and that really infuriated me is that everyone in my class used ChatGPT basically to think for them.
Mm, yeah.
Some group projects ended up being handled through AI, despite which I will admit, when I had some ideas on how to handle some of those projects, and the group unanimously was like, "No, we'll just use AI." I was not unhappy, compare.
Mm, it does take a
Even
lot of
less so.
it takes the human out of it too much.
Yeah, and it ended in realizing that everyone in my class was using that did make sense in some of my teachers thinking that some people did not that they complained that most of the class did not think out some of the stuff they wrote
Mm,
because yes, they probably did not.
yeah. Well, you just give it up to the computer to do, and while it's I mean, you're going to get a product out of that, and you can use it. It doesn't have any of the personal touch. And what do you learn out of that
Yeah, it doesn't.
other than typing
Sorry.
something into a computer and letting it do something for you?
Yeah, it honestly it lacks a soul. I'm a very artistically inclined person. And I will admit that I generated creations are just yeah. I mean I can understand that they can have their use.
Hmm.
I do not I don't think they should be considered art, if you will, because
Right.
they don't have the soul. They don't have the meaning.
Yeah. Well, maybe
It's
eventually,
very sorry.
we'll get to use it as a tool rather than a means to an end when it comes to these types of things.
Well, people are already using it as a tool rather than a means to an end, but still, when it comes to the artistic value of AI-generated stuff, it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really hold the same. It doesn't really hold the same value as someone who would pick up a brush or just a pen and scribble something, no matter how bad it is. Because if you go ahead and pick up a pen and draw something, there is thought behind what you do.
Mm-hmm.
There is meaning. There is a reason you did things the way you did.
Right.
AI doesn't really have that because it's mostly copies.
Oh, it's all copies, but just ground up. It's like a it's like spam of copy of things. It just takes all the stuff, grinds it up, and then sticks it out there. And some
it produces something that looks like something, but that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, and sometimes has like 8 fingers on one hand.
Only 8.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes more, depending on the particular program. But
sometimes it feels like you're looking at an eldritch creature. But
yeah, absolutely, and especially when it comes to like handwriting and stuff, it's really kind of. As long as it would stay as far as that goes, we're going to be safe for a while. But with your art skills and you're trying to boost them up a little bit, are you going to try to do some art streaming here soon?
Yes, it is in my plans because one of the milestones I had for the charity stream was that I'd end up designing and drawing an OC for chats, and it is still in my plans.
Excellent. I wish you luck on that. That takes a lot more courage than I could possibly come up with.
Give yourself some credit.
I am. That tells you how bad it is.
If there's a will, there's a way. Honestly,
I don't know. Every time
I'll always support people who try and improve themselves in any way.
Yeah.
Whether it is becoming better person, becoming better artist, becoming better anything. Honestly, if you try to better yourself, you're a good person in my eyes.
Well, that's something that you can look back on the success here with what you've been able to do with your channel, and you started it one way and you've kept on another, and you keep right on going, even though life around you is probably getting more complicated with everything going on with the university.
Oh yeah, and I also got an injury last month that did put a wrench in most of my plans. That wasn't very fun.
Aye. Well, did it affect you streaming or just affect you everywhere else?
It affected pretty much everything physically because I almost broke my foot and I wasn't really able to walk for a month. It ended up making me have to cancel altogether a vacation I was really looking forward to.
Oh. And
in terms of streaming, it did affect me in the sense that I was not really in a good place mentally because of that.
Yeah, that would pain is a real distraction.
Yeah. And pain tends to make me pretty thin-skinned, and it's not really something I like to inflict on people.
Well, you don't have to, because you've got yourself a stream and a community that is positive and is one that I think is going to just keep growing and doing exactly what you want to do with it.
I really hope so, honestly.
I think so. I think absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Please let me know.
Yes, I mean.
Please let me know when you've got some big events coming up. I know you're doing the charity in October, but if you've got something coming up, let me know and we can do an update and get some publicity out there for you.
Thank you. I deeply appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.